Hi guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. I am Milk and this is Milk Astrology, and today we're going to be going over the full moon in Aquarius on August 19th. The biggest aspect with this full moon in Aquarius is going to be the opposition to Mercury retrograde, and my hypothesis with this is that most likely something that has been said or something around information about people or situations in your life from the past, like something that you thought was resolved, will be maybe resurfacing, coming back to light in a very interesting way. So for some of you, you could be having, I don't know, in the most dramatic sense of the word, when I see this transit, I think of like an influencer being canceled or like something on social media resurfacing and coming to light. However, this could also play out in more mundane ways as well, like you thinking that you finished a work task and then come to find out that it I don't know, deleted itself and that you have to redo it, or that you have to tie up loose ends on something that you thought you already did. So for Aries risings, the full moon in Aquarius will be in your 11th house. Also, I wrote this very chaotic cheat sheet if anyone wants to screenshot that. But yeah, so the full moon in Aquarius will be in your 11th house of friendships, social media, and networks. However, it will be opposing the Mercury retrograde from your 5th house. So I could see this as like you having a plan to host like a art get together with your friends, but it's really chaotically organized, or you forgot to get some things that were very important to the event. I feel like this could be your creative passions clashing with your friends, or your love interest clashing with your friends. This could also be something around having conflict with something on social media, so like being more prone to argue with people online. I would also say this is maybe something tense around something coming to light in social media or within friendships about something that you've said in the past or that you've done in the past, but it could be also very like shallow based, meaning it's not really something that might be true that comes to light. So you might have to set the record straight or clear up your name about something that you already know for certain doesn't really hold a lot of weight to you. I would say like this is probably going to be very eye-opening too for figuring out who your friends are, who your social circles and like support groups are, and also like what kind of people you want to surround you. This could even be like realizations around like thinking that certain people are certain ways and then learning that they actually move a bit sideways or are a little bit shady. I'm not gonna say this is like the worst transit ever, so like I'm not saying that you won't be able to get through this, or maybe for some of you, you won't even feel anything about this transit other than maybe a Facebook argument or something about politics with your grandpa. Like it could be something really mundane, but worst case scenario, it could be something around old tweets being resurfaced online if you're an influencer, or it could be like figuring out certain friends aren't the best for you. Up next, we have Taurus risings. You are going to have the full moon in your 10th house opposing something from your 4th house. So the most dramatic scenario I could think of is like someone from your house coming into your work and disrupting your like work day, or like someone texting you a bunch of drama at home while you're trying to get through your work day. Something like, maybe it could potentially be like an interruption from family dynamics brought to you at work, or I would see it as needing to change something about your work so that you can better accommodate your family, or like be more present for your family. So maybe you're wanting a work from home job versus being in a physical environment. Like you could be thinking about how you can better smooth over your work home dynamics versus like have a wider gap between the two. I do kind of more see this as like something around your home life interrupting your work day, like you needing to call off or something. I see it more like that versus the focus just solely about work. But I do think that maybe you're reevaluating where you want to work, or just feeling like delays or frustrations around your work progress, like not seeing the results that you were hoping to have fast enough. Yeah, and I also just feel like you're pursuing maybe something new within your your work altogether. What are you doing? Is something stuck on your mouth? Let me show you guys what I'm seeing. Gemini risings, you have the full moon in your 9th house opposing something from your 3rd house. So I feel like you're having a huge philosophical moment where you're adopting a whole new belief system, or you used to see certain people or situations one way and now you're kind of seeing them in a whole different like way or lens. I think that you're also maybe coming to terms with something that is no longer working for you. So like maybe you're thinking about moving, maybe you're thinking about booking a vacation. I think also maybe you're just tired, like you're wanting a social media detox or wanting to get away from social media, or maybe like you're on vacation but there's some kind of drama online that you get sucked into. It could be something around needing to take a step back from more, I don't want to say trivial, but more lighthearted situations, and you're like seeking something that has more depth. So it could be like you wanting to get more into religion, or you wanting to travel, you wanting to book a trip or move altogether. I think you kind of had to go through a moment though this week where you were met with kind of a questioning of belief systems, and you had a knee-jerk reaction to defend a certain belief, but then I think later there were plot holes in it, and then it made you shift your whole perspective entirely. So that could be like a more dramatic sense of what happens with this week. Also too, it could just be you learning something, you learning information or news about either a sibling or something online that changes your perspective very vastly about something that you typically were not going to budge with. Cancer risings, you have the full moon in your 8th house. So you could have a big bill to pay last minute at the end of the month. You could also be needing to reshape a boundary around how people treat you. Like maybe you borrowed money from a family member and now they're being very like bossy or just like rude to you, and you maybe have to pay them back, but then like put up a boundary with them. I think also like people could potentially be popping up out of the woodwork and telling you that like they have feelings for you or something, especially because there's an opposition from the 8th house to the 2nd house of Mercury retrograde. Or actually you may be the one that's more prone to reach out to people because the Mercury retrograde is sitting in the 2nd house. But I would say to be very wary of entertaining old relationships or friendships from the past, as they might not be that beneficial moving forward, especially again during retrograde season. Yeah, so apart from paying off a bill at the end of the month, you could also be maybe getting into a new spiritual belief. Like the 8th house is also death and occultism. So you could be having like a rebirth in terms of a new religious shift or change. I don't think that, even though this is technically the 8th house of death, I think it's more the house of transformation. So I don't really feel like it's necessarily like death as much as like there's a shift in a dynamic. How also like with the Mercury retrograde opposition, I feel like that's not necessarily the most extreme case scenario, so don't think that way. I do think it's also like other people's opinions or perspective is placed on you, and you start really kind of figuring out or discerning what people want from you, and then I think also maybe questioning how that aligns with what you want for yourself or want out of those relationships. So you could be taking a step back from certain relationship dynamics. Worst case scenario though, you have some kind of money ailments at the end of the month. So being a little bit more cautious with your spending throughout August is very helpful. Leo risings, you guys have the the full moon in your 7th house. So you could be having a huge change of who has access to you, what relationships are worth prioritizing, and also what boundaries you want to really enforce in your relationships. You could be kind of figuring out that certain people are just no longer aligning with the kind of people you want in your life. You could be asserting a boundary about yourself. Something could also be coming up around a previous conversation you've had with someone. Like maybe you already set a boundary with someone and they could be like testing their limits with you this month, and I think you have to like either choose to cut them off entirely or kind of revisit a conversation or rehash something that you thought you already kind of got rid of. So it could be like a nuance around feeling or kind of reassessing if certain people in your life are kind of being dead weights or holding you back in some way. Like if they're kind of keeping you in a stuck or frustrated headspace. Yeah, so most dramatically, I would say some people maybe are going through breakups, but again, I put more emphasis on breakups with the 5th house than the 7th house. However, yes, you could also have some breakups with the 7th house, but I also feel like not all breakups are necessarily bad. Like not like your headspace this full moon is kind of like you needing to validate yourself. So even though there could be a huge or messy shift away from a certain relationship, I don't feel like you're necessarily distraught by it. If anything, you maybe have already been feeling a lot of fatigue around this person, and so you're kind of like welcoming it. Virgo risings, you have the full moon in your 6th house of health, physical wellness, daily routine, work, and lifestyle. So honestly, you could have something happen that makes you realize you need to change or adjust your lifestyle. Maybe you realize that you want to change something about your physical appearance, or maybe you're just not feeling good. Like maybe you feel weighed down, maybe your gut health has been bad. 6th house does heavily focus on gut health. So this could be you needing to take a step back and think like, okay, what can I revise about my routine? Like maybe it's just you needing to move your body more, sign up for a gym, like things like that. You could also be needing to adjust a routine or potentially even a work environment stressor. So like if colleagues at work feel like they're getting in the way of you being able to perform your job, you could like be taking something to HR. It's almost like you assessing your daily routines and habits and being like ready to cut out the fat, if that makes sense, like ready to cut out what's weighing you down or what's holding you back from certain goals you have. Like specifically, say you want to start writing a book, but then every time you get home you just spend the whole time cleaning up after your loved ones that live with you. So during this full moon, maybe you start putting down boundaries for everyone to start picking up their slack, so that when you get home you don't just have to have like a second job, you can actually like focus on your hobbies as well. And then Libra risings, you have this in your 5th house of fertility, sex, marriage, passion, hobbies, artistic creativity, all of those things. So you could be changing something most dramatically around like a marital status situation. You could be kind of reassessing, like maybe you thought you were wanting to marry someone and then you learn something about them or they show their true colors and you're like, you know what, I don't think I want to be with this person long term. This could also be you making a huge change or pivot around a personal hobby. Like maybe you were very excited to start writing a book, but then you realize that you want to get more into painting instead. So you have maybe like a change of heart around something that you used to love that you no longer feel resonates with you. I also feel like with the Mercury retrograde in your 11th house, you could be needing to reassess. For example, maybe dramatically your friends are questioning your relationship partner and like whether or not they're worthy of your time or energy, or maybe your friends are questioning certain artistic hobbies that you're into, and you could either be revising them or, I don't know, putting your foot down more about it. So those could be things that are also playing out for you. Scorpio risings, you have the full moon in your 4th house. So you could be moving, you could be realizing that you are fed up with where you live or wanting to change something about where you live, wanting to change maybe who you live with. You could potentially be like talking to roommates about timelines of either when you move out or when you want them to move out, or for some of you, maybe you're moving in with someone. Like maybe you are figuring that, or maybe you're pivoting from paying a bunch of rent, living alone. You do have Mercury retrograde opposition from your 10th house though, so there could be a strain around your career that also encourages you to restructure something with your home environment. Like maybe you have really loud neighbors and you have to constantly be in Zoom meetings, and because of this you were looking into more quieter neighborhoods, things like that. Sagittarius risings, you have the full moon in your 3rd house opposing your 9th house with the Mercury retrograde. So I feel like you could be perhaps having some kind of heavier conversation with a sibling, or you could be asserting a boundary or being more vocal about your needs with people in general, because this is in your house of communication. You could also be needing to change or fix something around your car, an oil change or fixing your tires, or maybe you're even thinking about getting a new car, especially with the Mercury retrograde in your 9th house. You could be reassessing information about your vehicle. This could also be you changing something around social media. I don't know, deactivate certain social media, unfollow certain influencers. This could be things like that as well. Or this could be you, I don't know, setting a certain boundary with family members, like telling them you don't want them on your social media. And then Capricorn risings, you will have the full moon in your second house. So you could feel like a little bit frustrated with your assets, like what's in your bank account. Maybe you had like a bunch of big bills to pay off recently, or maybe you were lending money out to people. I don't know, there could be a theme around being drained by either people or just drained financially, or both. And you could also be reshaping where you put your energy. Like you could be feeling like where you've been invested with friendships hasn't been helping you, or hasn't been beneficial to you. Sorry, my dog is gonna start barking at me in a second. Anytime I try to record, I feel like there's like just a circus performance happening around me. Yeah, so I feel like this could also just be you figuring out where you want to put your energy, where you want to put your money, and where you have been doing those things and how those have not been helping you. Now, Aquarius risings, you have the full moon in your first house. So you could be more or less wanting to make a huge pivot or change in mainly your appearance. However, please don't do anything with your appearance, because we have a Mercury retrograde amongst us, and you might want to just wait that out. Like I would just plan it on a Pinterest board first during the retrograde season, and then act on it after. However, you will be strongly fighting the urge to like cut your hair or something on today specifically. And you could also be needing to reestablish a boundary. Like maybe you're trying to move away from a certain relationship dynamic and you're being more firm about this. So you could just be more thorough or more blunt. You could also just be more clear about what you want or what's no longer working for you. So again, mainly boundaries. Also, you could be going after new projects or just like asserting new, I don't know, working on a new thing at work, like talking about a project that you want to start or asking your boss for a raise. Like you're just more, I wouldn't say that you're more confident, but I would say that you're more fed up this full moon. And I think because of that, it's like being the driving force to get you from A to B. Pisces risings, you guys will have the full moon in your 12th house. So I heavily encourage you guys to rest this full moon. I don't think you will want to. I just want to preface this with you will be feeling very restless. You will be feeling like almost anxious, or like, I wouldn't say paranoid, but maybe close to it. And you will want to do anything but. However, the more you exert your energy, the less you're going to feel good. So I would say like spend like the day relaxing at home, watching a good movie, doing things that are like cozy and comforting, specifically to your mental health, because this is the house of mental health, illness, and hidden enemies. So if you're not careful, you could be saying yes to go to an event with people you don't really know that well, feeling really uncomfortable, feeling weird vibes from them, especially with your intuition being louder, and then, I don't know, fatiguing yourself in the process. So I would specifically avoid doing that. And I also just think this could be a great time to reassess certain habits in your life. Like maybe you want to lower your alcohol intake or recreational drug use. This is a specific time where you're more focused or aware of your routines and how they make you feel in a long-term way. Like what are the long-term effects of the things that you do? That's also another thing. So yeah. If you liked this, please give it a thumbs up, and all my social media links will be down below, and I'll see you in my next video.